Number 9, we've got The Great Escape, starring Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, Donald Pleasance. Now, anything Steve McQueen's in, I'm going to watch because his stunt work is... He does a lot of his own stunts, especially when it comes to automobiles or motorcycles, and they're amazing. Like in the car chase in Bullet, he did a lot of the stunt work in that chase, and that's pretty much considered the first and maybe the greatest car chase in modern films. But The Great Escape is basically all the great escape artists of World War II that have been captured by the Nazis have pretty much been gathered in this one concentration camp, and they screwed up here because they thought if they got all the people that are the great escape artists and locked them down as tight as they could in this one concentration camp, then they would prevent further escapes at other lesser secure prisons. Well, just from the get-go, pretty much the whole group just tries to escape daily. And they end up coming up with this elaborate plan where they're going to dig tunnels all the way under the compound and out into the forest. And this goes on for months. It takes months to dig this out. And they kind of have a sneaky way of disposing of the dirt. If you've ever seen Shawshank Redemption, how he disposes of the dirt, they stole that from The Great Escape because it's exactly the same. They basically put it in their pockets and have a mechanism where they pull it up and the dirt falls out of their pants, and they kind of just smooth it around with their feet on the ground so it blends in. And they garden also to kind of hide the dirt. And it takes forever just to get the tunnels done. And so when they finally do get the tunnels done, they're starting to escape, but they don't quite make it. I can't remember exactly what happens, but there's someone who goes up. They were short of the woods. They were supposed to dig the tunnel and come out in the woods, and they ended up being 30 feet short of the woods or something, so they're right in the open. And I think one of them goes out when someone is looking, and one of the guards sees him. And so there's still about 100-something people that haven't got out yet. So pretty much the camp goes on lockdown, and the Nazis are out there looking for all these guys, and that's where the Steve McQueen motorcycle chase takes place, which is, it's not quite as good as his car chase in Bullet, but it's up there. It's a great, great chase scene. The movie's about 3 hours long, but it's definitely 3 hours worth watching because it's a really, really good movie. Number 8 is The Shining, starring Jack Nicholson. This is the Stanley Kubrick Shining, not the Stephen King Shining. This one is about a guy who's asked to watch a hotel way up in the mountains over the winter. And basically, he's a writer, and he has a wife and a son. And basically, they get there's a huge blizzard, and they just get snowed in there. And all these strange things start to happen, especially to the little boy, and also to Jack Nicholson's character. He starts to go insane. And the little boy always sees weird things, like dead people walking around, blood coming out of elevators, 2 creepy little girls, just all kinds of weird stuff. He's always seeing that. And you actually come to find out that Jack Nicholson's character was already there. He was already dead, I guess, when he got there. I mean, I don't know. I've seen the movie so many times, but it still takes me a while just to kind of explain exactly. I mean, I don't want to completely ruin it. I mean, I can't. But you have to watch it to really understand exactly how the plot comes together at the end. And number 7, we've got The Goonies. This is like the 80s comedy for me right here, is The Goonies. And it's directed by Richard Donner and produced by Steven Spielberg. And it's got, I think it had Corey Haim in it. It's the only actor I remember that actually had a good career. It was one of the Coreys. I think it was Corey Haim. And it's basically about these kids that are about to have they all live in a place that they call the Goondocks. And they're kind of the kids that get picked on at school, and they're all friends with each other. They stick together, and basically their houses are going to be torn down by this rich guy who's going to pretty much just plow it all down and build a golf course to connect to their country club. So they end up finding a treasure map to One-Eyed Willie's treasure, which was, I guess, a pirate that was off the coast of Oregon way back in the 1500s or something, and he got caved in, and he was docked in a cave or something, and the British or somebody shot the rocks, and it caved in and trapped him in there, and he died. So his treasure was still in there. So basically, they go on a treasure hunt to find his treasure so they can save their house from being demolished. And on the way, they run into the Fratellis, which is, they're like the typical Italian type gang. It's a mom and her two sons, and then she's got another son that's deformed that she keeps chained and whatever. And basically, the Fratellis find out that there's gold down there too, and that the Goonies are already down there looking for it. So they follow them because they want the gold too. And it's pretty much just a great chase through the tunnels to get to the treasure. It's like an Indiana Jones movie, but with 14-year-olds, pretty much, with all the booby traps and all the stuff they have to go through just to get to the treasure. It's a great movie. And number 6 is Jurassic Park, and this one's directed by Steven Spielberg. And this one is pretty much, they've found out how to recreate dinosaurs by combining dinosaur DNA with frog DNA. And they think they can control the dinosaur population because they use female frogs, but they come to find out that that doesn't exactly work because they find a way to reproduce. And there's a power outage on the island, and the dinosaurs get loose, and they're just running all over, just causing havoc and just killing pretty much everyone in sight. And that it's pretty much, I'd say it's like a B movie. It's like a big budget B movie that works because it's kind of the same thing Spielberg did with Jaws. That's pretty much a B movie, but big budget as well. And that one was just as scary. And if you see Jurassic Park when you're a kid, I think you'd be kind of scared, but it's a pretty cool movie. I know when I saw it as a kid, and I loved it. I just wore the crap out of that tape when I was a kid. I watched that so much. Number 5, Jeremiah Johnson. This is directed by Sidney Pollack and starring Robert Redford. This one, I kind of hesitate to call it a Western because it's not quite a Western. It's not your typical like gunslinger Western or anything like that. It's about a mountain man named Jeremiah Johnson who pretty much, he's tired of living in the city, not in the cities, but in the towns, basically down out of the mountains. So he tries to go into the mountains to make a living by trapping beaver and whatnot. And the atmosphere of the movie is just, a lot of it's really quiet, but I mean, the atmosphere of it is just so good that it really makes you believe that you're in the Rocky Mountains, like actually doing this stuff. It's just a really well done movie. And basically, he goes on to become a mountain man, and he ends up kind of inheriting a family of his own because he kind of gets into trouble with the Indians, and he accidentally says something that the chief of the Indians feels like he needs to one-up him, so he gives him his daughter to marry. So there he's got his wife, and before that, there was a murder at some cabin, and this woman just decided to give him his kid to take care of. So he's got his makeshift family, pretty much, of a wife and a kid. So he decides to settle down, make his own house, and pretty much live out the rest of his days with his family up in the mountains. But an army cavalry comes through, and they need to get supplies to, I think it's some kind of convoy that had crashed up in the mountains or something. And they were pretty much starving, and only Jeremiah knew the way through the pass. And they basically go through the pass, but they come to an Indian burial ground, and Jeremiah doesn't want to cross the Indian burial ground because it's sacred ground and whatnot. But they decide to cross it anyway. They get the supplies there, but on the way back through the burial ground, he notices his wife was wearing a some kind of beaded necklace or something. He notices that on one of the skeletons in the burial ground. So pretty much he just tears out back to his cabin. And when he gets there, he finds that his son and his wife have been killed. So that pretty much sends him into a rampage, and he just kills every Indian. And the Indians pretty much send one of their warriors to fight him, and they just pop out of the bushes. They just come from nowhere, and he pretty much takes them all on and defeats them. It's a really great movie. It has a slow build, but the atmosphere in the first 30 minutes to an hour is really good. The movie starts out slow, but the atmosphere is so good that you really just want to keep watching it.